There was shocking news one morning. The news surprised the technology world and many governments around the globe. The American government made a very sudden change. For years, America had a policy to stop selling important technology to China. This was known as the Chip War. But now, the government, led by President Trump, suddenly changed this important policy. A famous American company, NVIDIA, makes powerful computer chips. These chips are for artificial intelligence, or AI. A few months ago, the government said NVIDIA could not sell these chips to Chinese companies. Now, the government says NVIDIA can sell them again. This was a big surprise for many people and businesses. Why did America change its plan? It might look like America is losing the chip war with China, but that is not the real story. The decision was not about giving up. It was a practical choice. The American government needed to solve three serious problems. This new plan is an answer to these problems. The first problem is a new and powerful competitor from China. This Chinese company is making its own advanced chips. The second problem is that America needs special materials. These materials are very important for making products like electric cars and even military weapons. China is the main seller of these materials. The third problem is pressure from the stock market. A strong stock market is important for the economy, and big tech companies are a huge part of it. This story is about these three problems. It explains why America made a deal to sell technology to China again. It was a difficult choice between protecting technology and solving other urgent issues. This big decision reveals a deeper truth about America's strategy and its place in the world. It is not a story about weakness, but about making a hard choice. 2. A new plan. The story of this new plan begins in October 2022. The American government announced a new, very important rule. It decided to stop selling its most advanced computer chips to China. These were special chips, like the A100 and H100 made by the American company NVIDIA. These chips are like brains for powerful artificial intelligence, or AI. They are also necessary for building supercomputers. The government's goal was clear. It wanted to slow down China's development in technology. American officials were concerned that China could use powerful AI to make its military stronger. So, their plan was to put a limit on China's AI abilities by taking away the best tools. This was a very strong action. At first, the plan seemed to be working. In China, big technology companies became very worried. They could not buy the best chips from America anymore. They needed these chips to train their AI systems and to do important research. The ban created serious problems for their future projects. For a short time, it looked like China's AI development would stop or become much slower. The American company NVIDIA created new, less powerful chips that were legal to sell to China. These chips were called the A800 and H800. This was a temporary solution, but it meant China could only get weaker technology from America. However, the ban created an unexpected result. This was a big surprise for American leaders. While Chinese companies were worried, they also saw a new path forward. They understood they could no longer depend on American companies for this important technology. The American ban created a huge opportunity for Chinese technology companies. It created a special market inside China where there was no foreign competition. In this market, Chinese tech companies had no choice. They had to work with domestic suppliers. This gave Chinese chip makers guaranteed customers. It also gave them the money and the experience they needed to improve their own designs quickly. They had a new and very important job: to build their own advanced chips. It was a difficult challenge, but it was also a great chance for them to become independent and strong. 3. China's big success. The American ban was a big problem for Chinese companies. They could no longer buy the advanced AI chips they needed from America. This created a huge opportunity for one Chinese company, Huawei. Because of the ban, all of China's big technology companies had to find a Chinese chip maker. They had no other choice. This gave Huawei a large, guaranteed market for any new products it could make. Huawei worked incredibly fast to develop its own AI chips. They were called the Ascend series. Many experts in the West did not believe a Chinese company could replace American chips so quickly. They thought China's technology would fall far behind. But Huawei's engineers had studied Western chip designs for years. They used this knowledge to create their own powerful alternative. The success of Huawei's new chips was a big surprise. The Ascend 910B chip was a very good alternative to the banned American ones. It offered about 80% of the performance of NVIDIA's A100 chip. Later, the Ascend 910C was even better and was almost as good as some restricted American chips. This proved that China could build its own advanced technology without help from the West. This was a very important change. Major Chinese technology companies like Baidu, Alibaba, and ByteDance immediately started placing huge orders with Huawei. Huawei planned to ship around 700,000 of these special AI processors in 1 year. This was an amazing number. It was difficult to produce so many chips without the best Western machines, but Huawei used clever new methods to build them. The Chinese government also helped by giving money to support these companies. The American plan had failed. Instead of stopping China, the sanctions made China stronger and more independent. The country learned how to make its own essential technology. China was no longer just a customer for American products. Huawei also began to sell its chips to other countries. This turned China into a new global competitor. This was not the result America wanted. 4. A big problem for America. While China was solving its chip problem, the United States faced a new crisis. This problem was not about chips. It was about special materials called rare earth minerals. America realized it needed these materials very much, and most of them came from China. Rare earth minerals are very important for modern technology. They are used to make parts for electric cars, large wind turbines, and mobile phones. They are also essential for the military. The Army needs them for missile systems and other advanced weapons. Without a good supply of these materials, many important American industries could not work. In April 2025, the Chinese government made a serious announcement. It said it would limit the sale of some rare earth minerals. This was a direct response to American actions on trade. The news was a big shock in America. It showed a major weakness for the country's economy and national security. For example, the Ford Motor Company had to stop making some of its electric vehicles for a short time. The Pentagon, which manages the U.S. military, became very worried. For many years, America bought these materials from China because it was cheaper than producing them at home. As a result, China now controlled almost 90% of the world's supply of special magnets made from rare earths. America was trying to open new mines, but this was a slow process. Experts said it would take 5 to 7 years to build a new supply chain that was safe from Chinese control. This created a difficult choice for President Trump's government. The country needed these materials right away. Waiting many years was not an option. This big problem gave China a lot of power in its relationship with the United States. 5. A secret deal. Behind the scenes, the American and Chinese governments started to talk in secret. These were not public meetings. They were quiet, back-channel negotiations. Important officials from both countries met in Zurich, a city in Switzerland. They needed to find a solution to their big problems. Both countries had something the other one needed. The United States faced a crisis because it could not get enough rare earth minerals. These materials were essential for American industries, from making electric cars to building military weapons. At the same time, China's technology companies wanted to buy better AI chips from America. They could not get the best chips because of the American ban. The officials discussed a major trade-off. This kind of deal is sometimes called a grand bargain. The Chinese Vice Premier Liu He met with the U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. The Chinese side made a proposal. They said they would ease their new rules on rare earth minerals. They would sell more of these important materials to American companies. In return, China wanted something very important. The United States government had to change its policy. It had to allow NVIDIA to sell its H20 AI chips to China again. These chips were not the most powerful, but they were a big improvement for Chinese companies. This proposal created a big debate inside the American government. It was a difficult choice between technology security and industrial needs. Some advisors, like National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien, were strongly against the deal. They argued that selling these chips would help China develop its AI much faster. This could be a danger to America's future security. However, Other advisors had a different view. Economic officials warned President Donald Trump that the rare earth problem was an immediate threat. Without these materials, the American economy and its military readiness were at risk. President Trump listened carefully to both arguments. He did not want to help China's technology, but the danger of the material shortages was very real. In the end, he chose to make the deal. The agreement was a secret. The world did not know about the grand bargain. The U.S. government simply announced that NVIDIA could sell its H20 chips. A few days later, China announced it would increase its rare earth exports. The two events seemed separate, but they were part of one secret deal. 6. Money and power. There was a third, very powerful reason for the American government to change its mind about the chip ban. This reason was not about security or materials. It was about money and the power of the American stock market, known as Wall Street. By 2025, the stock market's health depended on just a few huge technology companies. People called them the Magnificent Seven. These companies included Apple, Microsoft, and NVIDIA. Together, they were a very large part of the whole market. NVIDIA was especially important because its chips were the engine for artificial intelligence. When investors felt good about NVIDIA, they felt good about the whole economy. If NVIDIA's stock price went up, the entire market usually followed. This situation created a strong political reason for President Trump to help NVIDIA. The president often used the stock market as proof of his success. He often celebrated on social media when the market reached a new high. A strong stock market helped him show that his economic plans were working. Any policy that could make stocks go up was very attractive to the government. Allowing NVIDIA to sell to China again was a fast way to make the stock market happy. Experts believed that sales to China could add about $15 billion to NVIDIA's income each year. This was a huge amount of money. The news would make investors very happy and push NVIDIA's stock price much higher. The CEO of NVIDIA also talked directly with government leaders. He argued that the ban was not really stopping China. It was only helping Chinese competitors like Huawei to grow stronger while American companies lost business. The economic argument was very strong. When the government finally announced the new policy, the results were immediate. NVIDIA's stock price jumped 7% in one day. The whole stock market grew as well. This need for a strong market was a key part of the final decision. It was a practical choice made because of pressure from Wall Street, the problem with rare earths, and the rise of a new Chinese competitor. 7. The rules are changing. President Trump's decision to let NVIDIA sell chips to China was a very big change. It showed that America's old plan was finished. For years, the American government tried to stop China's technology from growing too fast. This strategy was called containment. The main goal was to keep America as the #1 leader in technology by blocking China's access to important tools. But this plan did not work as expected. Allowing the sale of the H-20 chip was a signal to the world that the old rules were changing. America needed a new strategy for the future. The containment plan failed for a simple reason. Technology is not just about physical machines or hardware. It is also about knowledge and ideas. It is almost impossible to stop knowledge from moving across borders in today's world. Scientists and engineers from different countries often share their work. They write academic papers and speak at international conferences. Chinese researchers continued to learn from this global community. They could not buy the best American chips, but they could still read about the latest ideas. Also, Chinese companies found smart ways to work around the hardware problems. They learned to use many less powerful chips together to get the same result as one very advanced chip. So, the plan to block China did not stop its progress. Because the old plan failed, a new kind of competition is starting. This new model is not about trying to stop other countries. Instead, it is about making America stronger from within. This new way has a few key parts. First, it accepts that America and China will need to trade some technology. It is not possible to completely separate the two large economies. Second, technology rules will be more specific. They will only block the most critical technologies with military uses. Finally, and most importantly, America must invest in itself. It needs to spend more money on its own research, its schools, and training its workers. It must also build its own supply chains for essential materials. This will make the country more resilient and less dependent on others. The American plan to contain China had an unexpected result. The difficult years of sanctions actually forced China to become more independent. Chinese companies had to learn to make their own advanced products because they could not buy them from America. Huawei's success with its Ascend chips is a perfect example. Before the sanctions, most Chinese companies preferred to buy American chips. After the sanctions, they had no choice but to support Chinese companies. This helped China to build its own powerful technology industry very quickly. Now, China is more resilient. It has its own chips, its own software, and its own supply chains that are safer from American rules. China has become a stronger and more independent competitor on the world stage. 8. The real problem. The story of the chip deal with China shows America's real problem. The country's true weakness is not its technology, which is still very strong. The weakness is the difficult conflict between its economic goals and its security goals. American technology companies want to sell their products everywhere, including the huge market in China. This helps them grow and makes the U.S. economy stronger. At the same time, American security officials see China's fast technology growth as a major threat. This tension created a big problem for President Trump's government. They wanted to look strong against China, but they also wanted a strong economy and a high stock market. Allowing NVIDIA to sell chips again was a way to make Wall Street happy and get important rare earth materials from China. The deal was a practical solution for these immediate problems. It was a quick fix. However, it did not solve the deeper strategic issue. It only delayed it. The old strategy of trying to contain China with rules and bans did not work. In fact, it made China work harder to create its own technology. Now, China is a more independent and strong competitor. The future of global competition will not be about building walls. It will be about which country can innovate the fastest and create the best new ideas. America must now adapt to a new reality. It is a world where it is not the only technology superpower. It has to learn how to compete when it must share technological leadership with a country like China. This will require new ideas and different policies for the future. Do you think America made the right choice, or was it a mistake to trade technology for resources?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.